This video will describe how to place 3D structures on the surface of a 3D environment. Now, when it comes to what you're going to be putting on here, for the example purposes for this video, I have polygon structures that will be placed upon the Yellowstone National Park landscape. And please forgive me for what I'm doing to Mother Nature. I'm putting these gigantic structures, maybe the world's largest shopping mall, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's the reason I pick Yellowstone is because it has such a beautiful terrain. It's just a good terrain for example purposes. I have no intention of building the world's greatest warehouse in Yellowstone. Now, the structures that are going to be placed on here, the polygons, I already loaded them in here into the scene. And by the way, I'm basing this video off of a previous video when it came to creating a 3D surface, and this is where I left off, so that's why I got this here. But when it comes to structures, I added that in here. Now, there are several polygons that make this this layer up, and in the attribute table, and let me go ahead and open up the attribute table, because if not, you're going to wonder what the heck I'm talking about. Open up the attribute table. You're going to see that there is a field called height that I created. Whatever the z value is, the number of crickets in an area, I don't know, number of cheeseburgers eaten, you name it, but there's going to be a value here that's going to affect the z value, the amount of height. So for these structures, I have based on the units of the data, I have 300, 150, 200. So the shapes were created, the polygons were created, and then the attribute table is populated with that which the z value, the height, is going to be based on. Now, if you have questions about how to create polygons or put data in an attribute table, please note that those are separate things to talk about versus what this video is going to be talking about. But there are videos out there that quickly describe how to do both. So with that said, I'm going to click on structures here, turn that on, but you're not going to see it on the top though. The layer is going to be floating. Here we go. Going to do a full rotation here. Look at those there. These are the structures that I built, and I'm sure that some psychologist is going to look at that and say, now we can see inside of your mind. Well, we've got to put these on top of the surface and give them height. So how do we do that? What you do is this. Whatever layer is going to be on the surface, you right click on it and you go to properties. And now it's time to set up a few things. For starters, base height. Okay, base height. Base height was very important when it came to creating the 3D surface that you see here in the view. So let's go there first. What we're going to want to do is we want to tell the GIS just, hey, what is the surface that you're basing this on? So we click on the second option of elevation from surfaces, and that looks great. So I click OK. Actually, no, sorry. I was going to click OK, and that's unnecessary. The next one, the next tab, is extrusion. Now, extrusion is when we're finally going to say, okay, now time to make those buildings. Okay, how much are you going to extrude off of the landscape? So I click on extrusion. And what you're going to do next is you'll see that there is a place here to check. Extrude feature in layer. Extrusion turns points into vertical lines, lines into walls, and polygons into blocks. Wow, it sounds like magic to me. There, I click on that, and you'll see that there is a little box here that says extrusion value or expression. Please click on the calculator. There's a little calculator icon. This is where we're going to add in those heights of those structures that I showed you in the attribute table. And here is height, right here under fields. All you have to do is just double click it and bring it down here into the expression. So here you see height. I click OK. And you'll see that there's a couple of options here you can mess around with when it comes to its relationship, the object's relationships with the surface. So you can mess around that. And again, one of the fun things about GIS is just playing around with it and seeing the things you can do. All right, let's see what happens. Maybe we're going to have to mess around with this. Let's see. Click OK. I don't know. Okay, here's some structures, but seems like the earthquake is taken out or something like that. I don't know. I think it's time for us to go back in there again and look at that relationship. So I'm going to right-click on Structures, go back to Properties. Let's see what we have here. We have adding it to each feature's maximum height. Hey, let's do that. Okay. Now, the first option, well, what we did is we ran something that said adding it to each feature's minimum height. Okay, that was what it was selected before. But this seems more logical. What we're saying is adding it to each feature's maximum height. We're going to be adding it to the top, well, to the higher value. So I'm going to click on that and click OK. Ah, there we go. my contribution to Mother Nature. Look at that structure. Okay, and now there are buildings that are on the landscape at Yellowstone National Park. And remember now, this is for instruction purpose only. This is not a government plan or anything.